What's up, Traders Edge? It's Mark Sebastian, your only option. Today, we're going to talk about what happened with the markets this week. I'm going to explain what I'm looking for going forward. We'll preview NVIDIA earnings a little bit. And of course, I'm going to give you that one stock to watch. So with that, let's dig in. Friday, Supreme Court came out and struck down the tariffs. The market liked it. We rallied all the way up to the 21-day moving average where we failed. All in all, pretty choppy week except for Friday. We were up, we were down, a lot of dojiing and noise up until Friday. But the S&P looks, we're only about 70 points away from a new all-time high. A little lift above the 21, we could easily do that. Q's kind of a different story. They still have a lot of work and are way off their highs. They are back above 600. That's a good thing. But there's still some rough patches in the Q's. I want to show you what I'm looking at. MGK, this is the 64 largest stocks in the S&P 500. And what I'm going to do is show you the returns of it versus equal weight and bonds over the last 3 months. MGK, the 64 mega caps, it's down 1.15%. Bonds starting to rally, and look at equal weight. Equal weight's up 12%. We are seeing massive sector rotation out of the Mag 7, which is really 9 stocks, right? It's the 7 stocks plus Broadcom and Taiwan Semiconductor, and into the boring names: energy, industrials, financials, healthcare, you name it. That is where your strength is. And then we also see some bonds. But is that necessarily mean that, we're going to keep going up? Can 491 stocks that aren't the Mag 7 keep us going? Well, there are a couple things to worry about. And this brings me back to the bond market. We had a pretty strong rip higher in bonds, and it's held. They're kind of bull flagging. Now, bullish case, bonds up, that's going to be really good for small caps, good for industrials, good for investing. Bear case, people are worried and they're buying government bonds. And the reason why they're going to bonds is because there aren't a lot of other good safe havens out there, right? Gold, not so much. Silver, not really. Certainly not Bitcoin. So bonds are where money is going to be safe. And what has me really worried about the market right now is the VIX. Even with the news on the Supreme Court, PCE not being terrible, GDP being soft, the VIX is still almost 20. Now, is that Iran? Maybe. But I think there's something else going on. We've been talking here at Option Pit a lot about cross-asset margining, and I think that's starting to come into play, and you're seeing the VIX start to show it. I think there's some real risk of a major market sell-off, and I think it's going to be at the hands of Bitcoin. It has not been able to catch a rally after getting torched. It has not. Look at the one-year chart here, right? And look at the pattern here. Dump, and then hold, and then another dump, and then hold. I think we have one more dump coming, and Bitcoin's not going up until MSTR goes out of business. And folks, that is coming. Saylor was out with one of the most irresponsible tweets I've ever seen. If Bitcoin's not going to zero, it's going to $1 million. This man has $41 billion in his company. And he's putting out a tweet like that. That is irresponsible. So The big news for next week is going to be NVIDIA. NVIDIA earnings are coming up on the 25th after the close. Market looking for a little over 5%. That is below the historic norm of about 8%. When it's been lower, it has a tendency to not move as much. So this may be a bit of a non-event. There are still some other earnings coming out that are going to be floating around next week, but we're basically through earnings season, and they've been pretty good. All right. So with that in mind, what is the one stock to watch? My answer, Google. Take a look at this. Touches the 100-day moving average. Absolutely took off. I think it's got a pretty clear path to the 50 and the 21, and then potentially an all-time high. Google just launched. Google is one of the 9 stocks that now has options expiring Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and soon Tuesdays and Thursdays. In this past week here at Option Pit, we did a free, no cost, 0 DTE crash course, and we put on a trade on Google Friday afternoon with the intention of closing it on Monday. You had to be there to check it out, but you can review the replay here. And I think we're going to continue to see these 9 names: Amazon, Apple, Broadcom, Tesla, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta, iBit, GLD. You're going to continue to see those be major players, and you're going to continue to see those names start to get really their movement dictated by the options more than the stock dictates what the options do. That's what's happened with SPX, and that's coming for these names. All right, everybody. The USA is going to the championship hockey game on Sunday. I'll be watching. I hope you're watching too. USA, let's go United States, and let's go ahead and beat Canada. All right, everybody. I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. Make sure to click the link to check out our 0 DTE event that we had. And if you're watching me on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave a question or a comment. And if you throw in a stock request, I will check it out. All right, everybody. Let's go USA Hockey. Have a good one.